This is our countdown of the top 10 upcoming first-person shooters. From multiplayer games to single-player games, there are a lot of exciting upcoming FPSs. Let's get right into this with number 10. Number 10, Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 is a first-person zombie action RPG. The game has been in the works for a long time, bouncing around from different developers and being kept under secrecy. The game is set in an open-world California, taking place several months after the first game. California is under full quarantine due to a new zombie outbreak, and you will be in the middle of all of it. We still don't know a ton about Dead Island 2. Sumo Digital has taken over the game's development, and hopefully they're able to get the game out this year. It'll be on the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 9, Homefront: The Revolution. The original Homefront was a bit of a mixed bag. The game had an amazing premise filled with potential, however it fell a bit short due to its extremely short campaign and lackluster multiplayer. Homefront: The Revolution takes place 2 years after the events of the original and is set in Philadelphia. Unlike the first game, Homefront: The Revolution will feature an open world taking place in 3 different districts. The green zone is the affluent area of the city, the yellow zone is the ghetto where most of the population live, and the red zone is the bombed out suburban. Being an open world game means the game will probably have a lot more content, which was a major issue in the first game. Homefront: The Revolution releases on May 17th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 8, Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers is the debut title for Boss Key Productions, being directed by Cliff Bleszinski of Gears of War fame. Originally planned to be a free-to-play game, it was announced earlier this year that they had abandoned that model and shifted to a pay-to-play release. The game is set in a futuristic world where gravity is very low. This allows for gameplay to be very fast-paced, and there's many different classes that's going to allow a lot of variety in how you play. Hopefully Boss Key can deliver a quality debut when Lawbreakers releases this year on PC. Number 7, Battleborn. Battleborn is the latest game from Gearbox Software, and those are the guys best known for the popular Borderlands games. And while Battleborn is a FPS like Borderlands, it's of a much different kind. The game is being branded as a hero shooter, featuring many elements of a MOBA such as League of Legends or Dota. The game includes many different playable heroes, each having different abilities and weapons. The game also has a leveling system that resets when a match begins, so you can immediately tell this is a MOBA shooter hybrid. Battleborn is a game that has gone really under the radar, but keep your eye on it, it's being made by a very talented studio. It'll be releasing on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 6, Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior's 2013 reboot was one of the most surprisingly good games of that year, and now we have the sequel, Shadow Warrior 2, once again being developed by Flying Wild Hog. The game is set 5 years after the first game, and you will once again play as Lo Wang and must battle armies of demons that have invaded the world through another dimension. Shadow Warrior 2 will have its traditional single-player mode, but this time it will also feature a new 4-player co-op mode. In the co-op mode, the narrative will be the same, but you play as different ninjas. Shadow Warrior 2 will also be more open in level design, allowing for more exploration and less restriction in how you complete missions. The game is expected to release sometime this year on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Hey, surprise! You're dead.
Number 5, Rising Storm 2, Vietnam. Rising Storm was a standalone expansion pack to Red Orchestra 2. The game retained all of the core mechanics of Red Orchestra 2, such as the cover system, movement, etc. It was a realistic and gritty World War II shooter. Now we have Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, focusing on the Vietnam War. From the gameplay we've seen thus far, it looks great from a gameplay and visual perspective. We still don't have an official release date, but hopefully we'll see the game before the year's out. Number 4, Titanfall 2. Titanfall was one of the most anticipated games early on in this generation. A fast-paced first-person shooter with giant mechs, it looked absolutely awesome and filled with potential. And while some of that potential was realized, it was obvious that Titanfall had its share of shortcomings. A practically non-existent campaign, poor AI, and lack of content held the game back from greatness. Now with Titanfall 2, Respawn and EA have a chance to remedy those mistakes. The game is expected to feature a fully featured single-player campaign, and that's a fantastic addition. We also know that the game will be seeing a release on the PlayStation 4 this time, which is great. We should know more about Titanfall 2 at E3. Number 3, Overwatch. Overwatch is the latest game from the juggernaut developers known as Blizzard. The game is a squad-based shooter, 2 opposing teams of 6 players each. Each player chooses one of several heroes, each with their own unique abilities and roles. There are offensive characters with high speed and attack but low defense, defensive characters that specialize in forming choke points, support characters that'll buff the team and debuff the enemies, and tanks that draw fire away from the team. You can also switch which hero you play as following deaths, and that's actually encouraged. The game looks extremely promising. It releases on May 24th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 2, Doom. Doom is another game that's been in development for a long time. It was originally known as Doom 4, but development went back to the drawing board and the game was later rebranded as just Doom and published by Bethesda. Doom will be extremely fast-paced with an emphasis on momentum and speed, and it discourages players from taking cover behind obstacles or resting to regain health. id Software has also stated that Doom's single-player campaign will be over 13 hours long, which is pretty good considering the standard for a lot of shooters seems to be 8 hours or less. The beta has divided people, but hopefully the finished product is something good when it releases on May 13th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 1, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Of all the games on the list, Deus Ex Mankind Divided has more emphasis on its RPG elements, but regardless, it's still a first-person shooter. The game is a sequel to 2011's Deus Ex Human Revolution, and once again you play as Adam Jensen, who seeks the truth behind a shadowy Illuminati. The thing about the Deus Ex games is while that you can play the game as a first-person shooter, there are so many different ways to play the game that you can complete the game without ever even killing anyone. It's a game that lends itself to giving the player a ton of options in how you play the game. Do you want to play it as a run-and-gun FPS? Do you want to be more stealthy? Do you want to hack and disable the cameras? All of this gives Deus Ex a lot of variety and replayability. Mankind Divided releases on August 23rd on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Tank can face heavy fire. Everyone wants my back!
So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 upcoming first-person shooters. What do you think? Agree with our list? Disagree? What games will you be picking up? Comment your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.